Hi everyone, this is Holly from Hot Humble Pie. Welcome to my Christmas series. This is a wood round that I got from Walmart. They're $1. And I just have to remove the staples in them. They were very hard to remove, by the way, but I ended up using a wire cutter and it worked because I don't have an official staple remover. I need to get one. And now I'm taking some of the hula skirt right there and I'm just threading it through an embroidery needle because I'm going to put some beads around these wood rounds, but I want to make sure that I have enough and I space them correctly. You know, it's a good idea to make sure so that you don't end up with big gaps in between your beads, exactly how much you need. So once I figure that out, I take the beads off of that and I start gluing them down. And the trick here is to try and use as little of the hot glue as you need because you don't want it to get globby on the other side of the beads, although you can clean that up to some extent. You'll see me do that later. It's kind of better if you just use just what you need, and then we're going to be reinforcing it with wood glue in a bit. So here I go with my little craft knife. I am cutting the glue globs that did glob over a little bit too much off and pulling it out with a tweezer, but again, totally better if you just kind of prevent that from happening. And I'm using a nail file just to clean up the edges of the board because they had a little bit of roughness to them that I didn't like. Now I'm using the wood glue. I believe I got this at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just putting a little tiny dot down the back side of each one of those beads because for the first layer I couldn't use wood glue. I've tried it before with the hot glue and it makes the hot glue not dry and the beads fall off. So you have to start with hot glue, reinforce with wood glue. The second one that you put on top, you can use the wood glue for. So for that one, I put the wood glue on the beads every other bead, and then I do hot glue every other bead, and that works perfectly. And you'll have a nice strong hold. I'm going to use this glass candle holder from the Dollar Tree, and those Dollar Tree cutting mats that come two to a pack, I am finding them to be so helpful for crafting. I just use that like a lazy boy because they slide around on your work surface to twirl that around to make sure I absolutely glued it in the center from all different angles because I can't stand it if I get it off center. And now I'm using super glue and hot glue and gonna glue this down for a permanent hold. But I've been using those mats for cutting, even for painting, because you can wipe the paint off and wash them. They are very handy for crafting, so keep that in mind if you see them next time. So once this is dry, I go ahead and start painting it white. Now we're going to be using 4 different colors on this to get the effect that I want. I even considered doing a crackle medium on here, but I didn't want it to be quite that cracked. So I thought I would hold off because that wasn't quite the look I was going for. So the first color I put on here is the plaster from Waverly Chalk Paint. And then once that's dry, right now I'm going to go with the bright white from Apple Barrel Paint. Because we're looking for dimension, we're looking to make it a little older. Now we're doing pewter gray and I'm giving it dry brushing, and you just kind of have to keep working with this again until you get it where you want it. I want it to look really aged, like it's had many layers of paint and different owners. So now I'm going in with the antique parchment, and from Apple Barrel Paint it's very similar to the pewter, a little bit from the Apple Barrel, but it's a little bit more creamy, I guess. And I'm adding that over the gray to tone the gray down. Now I'm going to add a little bit of nutmeg from Apple Barrel Paint just here and there for some warmth, but that's going to be more or less mostly covered up, but you will still see the warmth peeking through. So now I'm taking the antique parchment and going over the nutmeg. I'm giving this a good blow dry. And then after the white, you'll see me doing just a little bit of distressing on the edges with a pewter gray again, but I wanted to make a really glamorous on trend. These are still in Hobby Lobby, they're still in Target. I wanted to create an on trend riser for my holiday decor, so I thought this would be really glamorous and nice. Now I found this at the Dollar Tree. I've never seen this before. I think it's pronounced lycopodium. Somebody comment down below if you're familiar with this, but I thought it looked just like pine. And it was perfect for Christmas, so I bought it during the summer and I've been saving it. Here's an ornament I got at Walmart again. I go after Christmas when everything's 75% off, so I think I only paid about 48 cents. I mean, it was hardly anything, and it's metal, it's thick, it's absolutely beautiful. It was almost too beautiful for a tree, so I wanted to showcase it a little bit, and this is what I came up with. So that little wood round, or it's not a round, it's like a flower shape. It was part of some wood cutouts that I also got in a package for $1 from Walmart, and I'm not really ever going to use it. And I didn't want to glue the snowman up on the tray because I obviously didn't want to damage my riser, and this was the perfect solution because it wasn't, it was flat. I didn't want to use the towering blocks because that would make my snowman a little higher than I wanted. So you can do that with any little flat piece of wood cut out from the Dollar Tree from any season. Just create a little stand so that he's nice and flat. Your ornament, whatever your ornament is, and you can use a Dollar Tree ornament. They have beautiful ornaments. You could even, you could showcase anything on a riser like this. But I just start putting that Lyco, whatever it is, all over there. Then I start using some of the pine from Amazon and tucking in here and there. I even add a little pine cone to the left, and this comes up absolutely stunning. I add some berries, then one little berry, just a splash of color, and we're all done, and it's beautiful. For this next project, you're going to need this free printable, which will be down below in my description box. Just click the link and it will take you right to it. And this Dollar Tree round, which I got at Valentine's Day. Well, not on the day, but around the time of Valentine's. And I'm just removing the back sticker. We're going to be working with the back here since it's already a nice blank slate. Now I start off painting this white because I'm thinking that's a nice neutral color and it will work for my free printable. But after I look at my free printable, I realize that this color here, which is Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster, is almost an identical match. Look at that, you can see it. So I repaint it, and now I'm just cutting my imagery out off of the cardstock. I just use a regular tissue paper, I tape it down on cardstock and run it through my printer. That's all there is to it. And if you need help, just leave a comment down below. There is a video where I actually give a more detailed tutorial, and I can leave you the link. So I start off using the water pen from the Dollar Tree, and I'm pretty excited about it, but it squirts out way too much water with tissue paper. I don't have enough control, and it ends up, causing the ink to bleed a little bit. So I just finish it off with dry tearing, and I just hold it really tight to control it so that it doesn't tear into the letters. And now I'm using the Elmer's glue stick, and I'm going to glue this image down on this round, and then check all the edges there and make sure right there's a little bit of that green running ink stuff. So I'm just cutting it out with my craft knife, if you're wondering what I'm doing there. Anywhere that the ink kind of smeared from too much water, I did have to correct it, but don't worry, everything's going to look great. So I do my edges last. I always do. I'm real generous to get the main image down, and then I go around the center, the edges just where I need to, so that the glue doesn't go too far over the edges onto the wood part where I don't want it to be. Next, I'm using the color Pewter Gray in Apple Barrel paint, and I'm taking a baby white, and I'm more or less staining the edges to get it to match even further and to make it look more rustic and distressed and just more like a wooden outdoor sign. I like that you can see the torn paper a little bit, but I still blend it in, and I even paint a little bit on the tissue paper. You'll see me do that. To me, that makes it more cohesive and it kind of pulls the piece together, but this is much less noticeable than vinyl. I mean, vinyl really is just like a sticker on your crafts. So when you use a Cricut, if you're okay with that, seeing that in the daylight where you can tell there's like a sticker on your projects, you're definitely going to be okay with the tissue paper method because it's even less noticeable. And of course, with the imagery, you can get much more complicated and intricate designs. You know what I mean? Like you could actually print up an entire scenery of the landscape or something and put it on your craft. So I love using tissue paper. It's one of my favorite ways to transfer. And look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So the next color I'm using is Burnt Umber from Apple Barrel Paint. Also using the baby wipe, just going around the edge and distressing. I start off really conservative and then I get a little braver and I go a little bit more, adding a little bit of faux chips and things like that. You just have to kind of work with this until you feel like you're comfortable with it. But this is how I wanted it to look. This is actually one of my favorite ones in today's video. I kept it very primitive and very simple, and it came up beautiful. I go with a buffalo check bow, just a simple bow, no tails, that's it. I want to keep it simple. And then I kept the bow from the cutting board from the Dollar Tree right there. It comes with a little bow. I took it off and I always save it because it has the black beads on the end and I love that bow. But I am tacking it up on the buffalo check bow just so it doesn't cover the words old fashioned. And now I'm using some pine. I was going to use some berries and in the end I went, no, I want to keep this very simple. That's the beauty of it. It just looks awesome. So this hanger here is actually from Temu. It was very, very cheap. I never buy there unless it's the same price as Dollar Tree or less. But that's it, and I love this. So this is the Dollar Tree cutting board, which I am absolutely falling in love with. I bought 3 of them. If you can find them, buy them up because they have what appears to be a thin little sheet of wood glued on the front. So when you touch it, it actually feels like wood grain. There is wood grain there, but it has words. So if you attempt to sand off those words because they are so dark, you will sand down the grain feeling and then you'll end up with a flat area and it doesn't look good. So in this case, it's actually better to paint the board and that way you have the wood grain still there and just bring back the wood with a bit of antique wax, which is exactly what I'm doing today. So I painted it with plaster, which is chalk paint, Waverly chalk paint. It's a 1-coat paint and that way it won't get too thick or goopy and we'll still get our wood grain peeking through. And I'm just taking a baby wipe with a little bit of the antique wax and we're going to try and put back the wood grain look there because I actually like the way it looks when it's the brown color for this craft. So the way to achieve this effect is to press lighter and heavier with your baby wipe and the antique wax. So you'll leave a little more wax on in areas and you'll streak it on purpose and then you won't go over that area again. So if you find it's not coming out just right at first, all you have to do is wipe it off because I'm actually using Huggy baby wipes, the ones that are mostly water, which is perfect for these kind of crafts because they don't leave any they don't leave a lot of chemicals or other ingredients behind to mess up or discolor anything. And also don't forget your sides. By the way, the Dollar Tree did not do the sides, so when you redo these they actually look better. Doesn't that look awesome? But it's really simple to do. You just, if you mess up, just wipe it off and you can start over and you keep practicing until you get those streaks in there. Here's another ornament from Walmart's last year's clearance for 75% off, so I almost got that one pretty much for free. There will be a free printable down below in the description box. Because of copyright, I did have to make some changes on that photo there, but it's close enough that you can recreate this project. For distressing the edge of this cutting board, I'm going to go ahead and use a permanent marker. Now you can barely tell, but I'm actually feather light, going up and down, up and down, up and down as I go around the edge of the cutting board. I'm not pressing hard and just drawing on it, if that makes sense. I'm just barely kind of tapping it and letting it, it's almost like stippling with the pen, but it creates a more natural look for distressing, in my opinion. It doesn't look as harsh. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue here to glue that truck cute little sign on the front of my cutting board. If you want the same effect from the free printable that I'm providing, just go ahead and glue it down on some craft sticks first or one of the little Dollar Tree wood pieces, and you'll have the exact same look. For this, I'm using a little bow at the top there because I do have a hole on mine that I want to cover up. And I'm using more of the pine that I ordered from Amazon. It's very delicate, I was just in the mood for more of a delicate pine mixed in with the thicker, hardier pine. I thought that was a nice combination. And I'm also showing you how you can really make your florals go. Like I easily could have just cut the top off on that pine and put the whole top on there. And as you can see, I chose to take the bottom half, cut all the little pieces off, and then just use those little pieces. And it's more than enough for embellishment. So keep that in mind. You can definitely stretch your florals. Here's some ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I thought this was perfect for a country Christmas. I'm just making a standard bow, and this time I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree wire in the middle of it to tie the center like that. I'm just going to twist it, cut the wire off, bend it backwards, and that will be the center for my bow. Next, I'm going to do the exact same thing with some of the Dollar Tree burlap ribbon, and I'm going to glue it down. First the burlap and then the little ticking stripe red one, and then I'm kind of placing my pine around to get a feel for where I'd like to put it. I'm going to put some on the bottom, some on the top, and kind of mix it up a little bit. And then, if memory serves me correctly, for $1.58 I got like 20 of these super cute peppermint candies. You're going to see it in a minute. They're nice and round right there. They almost feel real, like real peppermint candies. I glued that in the center. I think this one came up so cute. Please let me know what you think in the comments. For the next DIY, you're going to need a Dollar Tree Christmas tree. Mine was a little flimsy, I'm showing you. And I start off by removing all of the tinsel. And that star on top, keep that. We're going to be using that later for this DIY. So I take that off, put it to the side, and you're going to need 2 of these hats from the Dollar Tree. I ended up actually using 1 1/4, so you'll need 2 altogether, if you want it to be as full as mine anyway. And these come apart really easy once you clip that little starting thread. That you just pull it and the whole thing comes apart. And then I'm removing all those little teeth, or those little spikes, I guess, on the tree there. You're not going to need them for this DIY, so I'm just taking wire clippers and clipping those away. Next, I'm going to use some Dollar Tree wire. You can use any wire. And I'm just going to reinforce this little frame, I guess, or form, so that it's not so flimsy and it doesn't come apart on me. And the next step is to wrap it up in tape. I'm using masking tape, but you can use duct tape. Painter's tape might work, but I love to work with masking tape. That's my favorite because it's a nice neutral color underneath, and the surface is kind of nice and dry, so things adhere to it really nicely. I'm even covering the under part of the Christmas tree because I don't want it to show. This wasn't really necessary. You can skip this if you want to. I was just being extra particular with my craft. And I'm showing you here too, once you take this apart, there is this wire that was holding it all together that you'll have to kind of grab and pull out. But again, it slips out really easy in one pull, and you just toss that to the side. Once you've done that, go ahead and cut 2-inch little pieces from all of the entire. It's like a faux basket, I guess, but it's probably plastic. It's supposed to be a straw hat, but I'm guessing it's plastic. And we're just going to be looping these and gluing them on this Christmas tree. I have to admit, this craft was very time consuming. I think it took me like 5 hours altogether. It took the whole evening, but I love crafting, and I just watch a Christmas movie and enjoy myself and craft away. But I did end up wanting it to be very full, so you don't have to have it this full. And by the way, when it's done, it's very heavy. It feels store-bought. So these, I don't know if for those of you that have actually had an opportunity to pick up these Christmas tree forms, the little tinsel trees, they're really light and they tip over, but once you do this craft, and not so much so. So now I'm taking some of the Waverly chalk paint in plaster. I usually make homemade chalk paint, but I just moved. I didn't have anything, so when I first set up my craft room, I just went, oh heck with it. I just went to Walmart and bought a bunch of colors in Waverly chalk paint, so I'm going to use them up. And now I'm using the furniture pen from the Dollar Tree to distress my little star. That's what it looks like when you're all done. And of course, on the top of this tree, I did need to make another little cone shape so that we would have a nice point and would cover the top of the tree. Once I have that done, I'm going to glue my little cone triangle on the very top of the tree, leaving a hole on the top on purpose because we're going to put that star back down that hole. For the bottom of the tree, I decided to use sisal rope, so I added some more tape. And we're just going to wrap it all up in sisal rope, but I actually considered cutting the bottom off and gluing it on top of like a stained wooden box from the Dollar Tree, or going out and getting an actual branch from outside and gluing that on. I mean, there's so many possibilities for the bottom of the Christmas tree, but in the end, I thought this was a pretty cute shape and stand, so I went ahead and kept it and just covered it with the sisal rope. And we're all done, and I think this came up so high-end and nice. If you had fun today and enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. And as always, until the next one, breathe deep, fret not, and do things that make you happy.